This aircraft, there are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
7-Footers gang, welcome back to your hub of the 7-Footers podcast. We are still rocking it virtually, but we have 2 of our good friends with us here, Dexter Henry and Bryan Fonseca from the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. We always love to chop it up with you guys. How's it going?
Good. Can't complain. Just, staying safe as best as we can.
Should I tell you what I was doing before this podcast started? Or not? I see
already wilding.
Before we got on air, but I don't know if I should repeat myself. Dexter doesn't know because he just got here a little while ago, but yeah.
Something tells me I probably shouldn't know.
It's not that graphic, but
No, he's doing a little manscaping, a little personal grooming. That's all. Making sure his shit's tight.
We'll just leave it to the imagination.
No, don't leave it to the imagination. No, nobody asked for that. Jenna, you didn't ask for that. Jarod, you didn't ask for that. That's all.
We didn't ask for it, and he came in and said it anyway before you came in. So
that's Bryan for you.
That is Bryan. That's all we love, Bryan, man. I'm happy these guys are here though, Jen. I haven't seen my compadres in a long time, man. By this time of the year, I mean, we've already seen each other a million times, but it's like I haven't seen these cats since February, maybe.
You meant actually in person.
In person,
yeah. Okay. Oh, got you. Because I was like, I've seen Jarod. Jarod and I, we spoke, and Bryan and I talked all the time.
We
Jenna,
spoke.
I haven't seen your face.
It's different, though.
Well, that's because nobody lets me in the group text.
Well, listen, no. You in the group chat.
No, every once in a while, I'll send in a bad tweet from a person I'm not going to name to get shit popping in the group text. And then, after we clown it for a little while, it just kind of fizzles out. You know what I'm saying?
I see.
We need to get more on our group text game here.
We do. It is good. It's good to see everybody, even though we haven't seen each other in person in so long. Man. It's crazy.
I know these video calls are keeping us going.
We'll be allowed off punishment one of these days. One of these days.
Yeah. People start acting right. Yeah.
Sure.
2020.
Wait, do you guys remember that when you were younger and you'd be like, if you were on punishment and your friends were like, yo, we gotta do whatever. Like, nah, man, I can't. I'm on punishment. But when I get off punishment, though, we're gonna be good. But then you didn't get off punishment because you probably did something else to extend your punishment.
That sounds like the story. That sounds like the story of my childhood. Pretty much. Yeah.
Big facts.
Extended punishment.
Yeah.
What, Bryan? I see the thought bubbles coming from your head.
Yeah. Bryan was probably so bad he couldn't get punishment. He's like F punishment. I ain't doing that.
Yeah, kind
right
of. But here's the thing: you're kind of right, though. Cause,
not
I was one of those kids where I was good in school generally. I got suspended a couple times. I got suspended a couple times for fighting, but I was generally well behaved in school. Generally, really well behaved in school.
You wild out when you got home.
I swear my parents hate me.
Yeah, can we get Bryan's mom and dad on one of these podcasts?
Oh man,
I've met Bryan's mom, very lovely woman, but I'm sure she was tormented.
My first question would probably be to Bryan's mom: when did your son become so violent? And then we would go from there.
She's like from birth.
The first I became a boxing fan and a wrestling fan when I was 3. So
yeah, see, there you go. That's all you need to know. That's all you. Anyway. Jenna, let's move along and get into the action while we're here.
Yes.
Yes. Let's get into this because we need to talk about the famous bubble that is going on right now at the single-site campus at Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. As you guys know, it is the site of the ESPN campus. And you guys know, at the end of June, the NBA, the National Basketball Players Association, they finalized the plan to start a month later. And on July 30th, we'll kick it off. So let's talk about this bubble a little bit. We know right now that it is working. I think we can all agree that the bubble is working. We're very in the premature stages of it. But as you guys know, we had the good news that nobody within the bubble, within the league, tested positive for COVID-19, which is a major plus because the same can't be said for the other leagues around, especially the MLB, but we won't get into it. But give me your general thought on the bubble, guys, right now. I mean, we're hearing a lot of great things. It seems like it can work, and I know because of prior episodes, we were very skeptical. Dexter, let's start with you, dear, just because you're wearing a shirt, and I love it.
Well, I mean, that's good because a lot of people don't love people wearing Knicks shirt these days. Even Knicks fans don't love people wearing Knicks shirt. I was very skeptical about this, and I spoke very much at length with Jarod about this the last time we were on the pod, and even in some conversations we've had off. I know we both were skeptical about it. So, but I have to give credit where credit is due. This has worked better than I anticipated, and even Dr. Fauci, some people in the world listen to him, had said that if you were going to try to return sports, right, guys, that this was the way you could do it in this bubble and all the protocols that the NBA has done. And if we read and listen to some of the stuff our colleagues have been saying, there's been very strict measures in enacting. Now, are they still figuring some stuff out? Absolutely. But is this the best way you can try to keep people safe in a sport like basketball where the rosters aren't too large and the staffs aren't too large? This can work. Here's my concern, though, guys. I do have one concern. And maybe Jarod and others will feel me on this. I'm concerned when things, a couple weeks from now, when families start to come in and people start to bring in some friends, if you know what I'm saying. Because if I was down and I was lonely, I might want to bring, I might want to import some friends. And the thing about those friends is we don't know where those friends are, what they've been doing, and how they've been moving, right? So just, not to make light of it, but just in terms of the health and safety thing. Everybody needs some love. Just want to be clear on that. But we want to be safe with that. And I do think there are some concerns with that. And some of these guys who are single that might be bringing in some friends.
Or not. You don't gotta be single.
All right, B, easy,
or not,
easy.
Right?
I mean, no. All right, yeah, I know. I feel you.
I want to give credit. I want to give credit to Jenna for just looking away on that. But these are things that we know are going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And there are some health concerns around that, and then how the NBA navigates around that is going to be interesting. The other thing for me, and before I move on, let Bryan talk about this, is my other concern is still what happens if we are in a later series. Well, let's talk second round and beyond, and a major player tests positive for this, especially for a team that maybe hasn't won in a long time. Let's say Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. So what happens if it's Game 5, 3-2, Bucks are up, and against Bryan's Miami Heat, and Giannis tests positive? Mm-hmm. That's huge. What do we do then? How does that all work out? I still have questions about all that. Yeah. But I do have to say, overall, guys, what the NBA has done so far, I've liked, and it seems to be working.
Go ahead, B.
Bryan?
Yeah, I have a lot of the same takeaways. I would just say that, like, it's probably going to happen at some point where somebody's going to sneak somebody else in, and then we're going to have a whole thing. I think, it's going to happen at some point. That's not to say that whoever's being brought into the bubble is going to test positive. I'm not going to say that.
Right.
But I think that we're in a better place now in terms of understanding what this is, because now we've seen it for a little while, and we just have that sort of trust in both the NBA and the WNBA that they're going to handle this the right way and go about this the right way. When they were all the leagues are devising their plans, or lack thereof in the case of baseball and football, we saw the NBA and we're like, okay, this is something that could potentially work. They're going to set all these things up in the right areas. They're also going to continue to fight for social justice and equality and things of that nature, which both leagues are still doing. So they're going about everything, I think, the right way and as good as you can do it. And so early in the process, we've already got all negative tests. So we'll see if that holds up. I do feel confident in saying that in both the WNBA and the NBA that we'll see things play out. Playoffs, champions, the whole thing. I can't say the same about baseball. I can't say the same about football, because I think already we're looking at baseball like, who knows if we're going to make it through August. And then the NFL, owners still want to get fans in the seats and like have them, 6 feet apart, whatever the case may be. And like, that's not going to work. You know what I mean?
The fact that they want them in the seats.
Well,
yeah,
it's crazy.
And you know how the owners work.
And the bigger problem is that there are still people in this country in high-ranking positions who want to try and get college sports off the ground.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? Especially college football, where unlike the National Football League, where there's 53 players in the team,
and then 100.
or 10 more in the practice squad, yeah, there's 100. And you know this because you'll see guys wear the same number on the same team because offense and defense is only but so many numbers you can use. So you're literally having like 100 players on the team, so that's not going to work. But the NBA, the WNBA, they're going about it the right way. I haven't seen as much basketball as I thought I would, but that's because these games, the NBA games rather, don't really matter until this week that we're in right now. And even then, I'm just really looking forward to the playoffs. So,
you know, and all fair points of both of you, and you guys know, I would say I was very skeptical, and not from a doomsday like, oh, like we got to be shut in our houses, because I think there's a narrative going on out there about people in the media who are rooting for sports not to happen because of coronavirus. I'm like, are you people stupid? This is how I earn money. Of course I want sports back. Like, are you high? Like, why wouldn't I want sports? I just want it to be safe. And I am specifically concerned about the NBA, and I'm always, quote unquote, harder on them because they're the Black League. And because I don't want them to fuck up, because when they fuck up, or if they fuck up, it ain't gonna be, oh, you know, Adam did this thing wrong, or oh, the owners. No, it's gonna be the players. That's who media, some of our colleagues are gonna be like, and the fans are gonna point to, players do this, they too greedy, they got this, they got that. And so I'm always sensitive about how the players are viewed vis-a-vis their peers in other sports. But I have to your point, Dexter, agree and give credit where credit is due. First of all, Adam and Michelle are extremely smart, well-intentioned people. So I didn't, and Jenna and I, we talked about this, I didn't think they were going to go into it haphazardly. They clearly have gone into it with a good plan, and the bubble is working. There are still questions, of course, right? Adam said the bubble is designed to withstand a small outbreak, not a large outbreak. We still don't know what small and large mean in terms of numbers. And I understand why we don't know, because Adam can't come out and say, okay, small means 10, large means 30. Because if the numbers, if anything happens outside those numbers, and he doesn't hold through to them, he's screwed, right? So I get that one of it. Going forward, to your point, Dexter, when family members and imports start coming in, what is the protocol there? And now, to be fair, that's going to happen because teams are going to leave, right? So 22 right now, if you don't make the playoffs, you out. So teams are going to leave, right? And then after the first round, another teams are going to leave. So it's going to get less and less people, which of course is good. And I don't know this for certain yet. I assume they are. The family members are getting tested, right? They have to when they come into the bubble.
Yeah.
I would imagine the imports get tested too. I don't really know how that's gonna work, but sure.
If you sneak them in, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. I don't mean to interrupt you, but here's the thing on that subject. Just before, in case anybody moves on, you go through all this trouble to have this bubble. You make the media members, everyone else, quarantine, test, everything. You have to be able to test and monitor the people coming in, even the imports. And I'm sorry, if that were me and there were a global pandemic going on and I was one of these players, I would be shitting my pants to be the one guy, especially a rookie, that gets caught
to mess up the whole thing for everybody else.
Into the bubble. Let's call it what it is.
Well, who did he bring in?
Because it could be worse. You care about that more than the health of the
No, but I'm just saying, like, yo, dude, if I'm on the Washington Wizards and I know I'm not going to move on past a certain point, and I'm able to bring in, I'm not going to say any names, but if I'm able to bring in a 10, it might be worth it.
No. See, I can't rock with that logic. If you're on the Washington Wizards and you know you're not going to move on any point, wait till you get home.
Exactly.
How about that?
Because you're going to be home in 2 weeks anyway. You're going to be home in 2 weeks anyway.
Well, it depends. Like, y'all might not live. What if she's from Florida? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all might not
if she's from Florida, you're risking it all anyway. That's
here's the thing, though. And let me say this too: if I were like outside of maybe one of the top 10 teams, I probably don't even go. Like, if I'm on the Nets, the Wizards, the Blazers, like, what are we doing? Like, what are we honestly? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like the Blazers maybe because you could probably get to the playoffs and win. I don't know.
Yeah, they do the play-in game, but it's just
you have Damian Lillard, you have CJ McCollum.
You got a chance. You got a chance.
Nurkic back. You probably do something. But if I'm the Wizards, what am I there for?
Nurkic and Zach Collins, Twin Towers. We'll get into some actually encore stuff in a minute. But just to wrap that, I'm very, very grateful of where they are right now. I love the zero positive tests that have happened over the past week. And let's be real, the reason why they're able to do this so well is because of the rigorous and the frequency of the tests. They're literally happening daily. So therefore, you'll be able to catch it quick and immediate and quarantine and deal with it. So kudos. I'm still, while I'm happy, I'm still, we have a long road to traverse. But if they can keep this up, I have great hopes about them finishing the season. And it's important they finish the season because, especially with the next topic we're going to get into about this money.
Right. And you make a really good point while we wrap this up. You made a really good point that there will be a lot of people leaving. And the bubble is going to get less and less people. And even so with workers, too. You might not need as much workers as the people leave as well. So long story short, as everybody knows, the objective is to keep players in the bubble with, of course, the exception of some excuses, which we will get to in a little bit. But right now, let's talk about money, as Jarod said, because this is a really interesting topic. So even though we're currently in the 2019-2020 season, obviously the NBA is already thinking ahead for the next season because we most likely could potentially have a second bubble. So, as we face the reality moving forward, we have some NBA owners talking hush-hush about preparing to find cash in certain places to kind of prepare for the 2020-2021 season. So it all started, with the Golden State Warriors. Their owner, Joe Lacob, he informed other owners that he's considering Goldman Sachs as part of to raise money. So Jarod, kick this off because I know that you feel some type of way about this topic. Now, do these owners really need to be searching for cash flow right now? And do they even need cash flow?
So it's so funny, right? Like in the show notes, like prior to the show, I put the Jenna, like owners, quote unquote, need money, right? And like to an extent, right? They do and they don't, right? And there's different class levels within the NBA, right? You talk about someone like Steve Ballmer, he good, like, right? He got well over 100 billion, homie good, right? Like there's certain guys who are fine and have access to capital and need it. You have other people who their main source of income have been greatly damaged and affected by the pandemic. And that's making their money act real funny. Shout out to Solomon Fertitta down in Houston, right? So Mickey Harrison, when your business is cruises, hotel, hospitality, restaurants, and shit's been shut down for 4 months, your money ain't straight. Now, don't nobody be out here crying the blues because they broke. It ain't that, all right? They got money. But the thing is for most of these owners, and if you owned a business, you would think the same way. They're not going to liquidate money from their other business or from their other holdings to pump money into their sports franchise. That's just not what they're going to do. They're like, nah, because they could, if they wanted to, they could figure out a way to come up with the cash. But they ain't doing that. They're like, nah, we got to keep this revenue, this TV money coming in. Hopefully that's good. And then as we go into the next season, figure out, because the cap's going to be lower, clearly, because the money's less. What are we planning for the long term? Because a team like the Warriors, they have probably 250 employees that work for them. They didn't furlough anybody, which means they got to keep that payroll going. And as a business owner, payroll expenditure is your number one expense, right? Okay, here's what else Joe Lacob and the Warriors don't have. When they opened the Chase Center, they were like, we're going to get Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift. They got concerts sold out for years. Ain't nobody been in that stadium in 4 months. Right? Like, which means ain't no money coming in. But guess what? Rent's still due on the first of every month, right? So and Lacob, of course, being fortunate because of his ties to the financial community, he can go to a Goldman Sachs and be like, yo, we got to raise $250 million in capital. And Goldman will take that risk because they know eventually when this is over and we get to open up arenas again, they'll make their money back. Not every owner is in that same position where they can do that and have that kind of luxury, right? The Lakers, for instance, they got good TV money, good for them, but they're not as wealthy as Steve Ballmer, right? That's a family business. It's run a little bit differently. The people that own the Oklahoma City Thunder, Clay Bennett, the energy industry is mainly what takes care of them. Energy stocks taking a bath. He don't got money like that, and they're cheap to begin with anyway. On top of that, shout out to trading James Harden for $5 million, right? So, I mean, these are the things we're talking about. There are large-scale ramifications. So as we go forward into the coming seasons, teams are looking ahead going, you know what? We might start selling draft picks. We might start being like, nah, we ain't getting no free agents. We're just taking it easy. And what's going to happen then, the teams that got the money and got the cash and are like, cool, shout out to the New York Knicks. They'll be like, well, ain't nobody else here. We'll give you money. And that may actually tilt the scale in the favor of the people who have the cash and aren't afraid to spend it. So that's what's up.
We're coming back. We're going to come back strong.
Yeah, I find that it's a lot of it is interesting, right? Like what is going to be done and how different owners are going to move, and will it create? I guess you can say can create somewhat of an inequality even in a system with a cap system. You know,
not a hard cap, but a cap. Yeah.
Not a hard cap, but a soft cap, but still have this inequality that would favor the teams that have more money or the owners that have more access to resources to fund their teams. That does make it very interesting. And obviously, I don't think from a competitive standpoint as fans of the game, that's not what we necessarily want to see. Right. And we all know the Knicks spending money, it don't really matter. They can still spend it stupidly. That can very well happen. We've seen this before. Just because they have the money to spend doesn't necessarily mean they're going to spend it right.
Jerome James, Eddie Curry, you know what I'm saying?
All right, let's not hatch up the past.
Those are my favorite too.
So those are my concerns. I think what I say to all that, as sports is always a microcosm of society, is look, man, if we want the owners of our teams, whoever you root for, to be able to get their money in the way they can to fund their teams or not have to fund their teams as much with their money, we need to get back to being a healthy society. And getting back to be a healthy society for you folks out there that want to see basketball, that want basketball to continue, that want to be able to go back to games, wear your damn mask. Please, wear your mask. Care about your fellow citizen, because all of that ties into this. You can't have one without the other, right? So if you don't want to have to see, yes, Bob Myers has a huge advantage being able to call up his boys from Goldman Sachs and be like, yo, hit me up. Well, let's hit me up, but like, let's fundraise $250 million.
You don't think he says hit me up?
Nah, I don't think that's a language at all. I don't think so. But that is a privilege, right? In that in itself. But not that I feel bad for Bob Myers. No. All I'm saying is we don't even have to go to that and have these conversations if we can get quickly to having a healthy society where we can start thinking about having games. Now, do I think that's happening next year? No, I think we're probably going to have to start in a bubble again. Okay? Now, I think one of the things I want to bring up, Jarod, I'm intrigued from the rest of everybody, is how do we think they're going to make up for some of this other revenue? I thought about this the other day, and like I think, Jarod, you are too, and Jenna, you might be as well. Bryan, you know, you're well part of this as well too. I'm a league pass. Somebody buys league pass every year. Yeah. I think that price of league pass is absolutely going up. And what's the price point of what will people pay? Because more people might be dependent on league pass because they can't necessarily go to games. So now bumping up that price, people might be willing to pay a little bit more. But what's that price point and how much revenue does that bring back?
Well, let me tell you something right now about league pass. If you're going to charge more, you better make that damn product work better. How about that?
A lot of people are complaining about league.
You know, how about it not being so crappy? Listen, this is and you know I love this league, but yo man, how is it that you are this league and your league pass product is trash?
Especially now.
Trash.
Can't
now
be having
it's 2020. Now. Come on, man.
Yeah. You got all the time in the world to fix it right now.
All the time in the world.
I told Jarod about this, and Jarod was so mad because he didn't know. And this is for our listeners; they can learn from this too. Jarod is like me, is a YouTube TV subscriber, so this is how Jarod watches TV. But what Jarod didn't know is that you can get the NBA League Pass through the YouTube TV, and the product on it through YouTube TV, for some reason, as opposed to the other ways, is fantastic. There are no drops and no glitches. So if you have YouTube TV, you can get your League Pass through the YouTube TV. I highly recommend it. Otherwise, you're going to be mad like
wildin'. That app wildin'. You get in there, it's like the basketball starts spinning. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. What the
boy?
Come on, man. I'm trying to watch the Nuggets. What's good?
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to respond to the whole cap thing, I'm just going to always assume that billionaires somehow are going to get a bailout. That's what this pandemic has taught me, among other things. So I'm just always gonna assume that somehow, some way, whether they want to act like it or not, because you know they're still gonna act like they're one of us, quote unquote.
They ain't shit.
Yeah, but what's gonna happen is I just feel like at some point they're all gonna get bailouts or in some form. You know what I mean? Like I was hearing all this stuff about how, Mickey Harrison, you know, Carnival Cruise Lines, they're all messed up right now, and he got a massive bailout from America because we just print money over here. So really, I'm not like entirely worried about it. Yeah, well, yeah. I'm not entirely worried about it. It's just to keep the 1% at the 1%. You already know how this country goes.
No doubt.
But I'm not worried about it from that perspective. I am intrigued to see like what's gonna happen with free agency, for example, in 2021, because now that's something that changes drastically because of all of this, and now the salary cap is not going to go up. Well, before all this, China, that happened, and
Shout out
now
Daryl Morey.
right, and then like when that happened, people were already predicting like, oh, the salary cap will probably be around, roughly 5 million less in 2021 than we
And that
expect.
matters. That matters.
Now,
Oh, yeah.
with this, I don't even know. Like, you can't predict Giannis is going to go here, and like it's just a one big mess right now. And 2021 is supposed to be the free agency class for these players, for these teams, quote unquote. So we don't know how that's going to affect us as well. And I also find it hard to really look that far ahead into the future, because every week or every day or every month is just so like this is always something that could dramatically change the very fabric of where we freaking live at this point.
No doubt.
So
What I will say
Exactly.
as we wrap it up, the people to be looking out for, the ownership group, because again, there's levels to this, right? Like Oprah is one level of billionaire, Bill Gates is another. That's a whole. There's levels to it, right?
Yeah.
The owners who I would be watching, because their money's long and they good, Bomber. I'd be looking at Joe Tsai in Brooklyn, got that Alibaba money. Obviously James Dolan, right? But like the Knicks do stupid things, so whatever. Those and Gruber and Lacob in Golden State because of their access to Goldman Sachs and private equity and all that. Although those are taking a bath as well, and the guys who own the Sixers, Rubin and the guys who own Apollo and Apollo Global. People that have access to large sums of capital. When I say large sums of capital, I don't mean like $10 million. I mean like hundreds of millions of dollars. Them dudes who can get their hands on that kind of cash relatively quickly, them the dudes I'm watching out for. And look, Clippers, they might mess around. They win the title this year, then and the money's lower next year. But the Bombers like, hey man, but I'm good. We got money. Come over here. They could build something over there. So it'll be interesting to see as we play out over the next few years if this causes a change in like the power dynamic and the balance of the league.
And if people don't think that there's some serious money just coming out of nowhere going around, pay attention to the race for the vaccine and see who gets that first, because there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money that's going to be made over a shot that's supposed to help all of us, because nothing is free here.
Shouts to the
You know what I'm
Capitals.
saying?
Yep.
Listen, I told Jarod in the pre-show, your girl don't do numbers, your girl don't do math, so I ain't even gonna weigh in on this shit because I don't even know what y'all are even saying.
Yo.
So, I love a good, whatever.
Oh,
That's all. I'm just
I
here
love
to
it.
intro that.
I love it.
That was a realist response to that, for sure.
Crunch your damn numbers. The only thing I know is that a billionaire always gonna be a billionaire unless he's up in Magic City dropping it off.
Whoop! Too early. We ain't in Magic City yet.
We ain't there yet because we got to stick to money, but shift gears a little bit because we got to talk about my guy, Kyrie Irving, who, as we know, has opted out of the rest of the season to fight for social injustice, Black Lives Matter, among other things, including helping his favorite league, the WNBA. We recently learned that he started a $1.5 million fund for the WNBA players who choose to sit out in the 2019-2020 remaining season due to personal professional health and or safety reasons. An incredible effort by Kyrie Irving. He is putting his money where his mouth is. He is doing what he said he would do. And, guys, he also came out with his shoe with his sister, Jarod and I. We spoke about that in the last episode. He's doing wonderful things for women. He's doing wonderful things for the country, society, the community as a whole, the Black community as a whole. Let's talk about this a little bit. I mean, I don't think we have anything bad to say about it. Let's get your take on this, Dexter.
Somebody will have something bad to say about it. I mean, but somebody will make it back to, not to be able to hear it, go back, oh, Kyrie once said the earth is flat. Kyrie doesn't get credit sometimes when he's doing something good. And this is something really good. And I think it's very important for us to see athletes, especially in the sport of basketball that we all love, support women's basketball. I know I'm a supporter of women's basketball. Bryan and I just talked about WNBA in our last episode, how excited we are about certain things with the season. But to see an athlete actually support women in these ways financially, whether they, for health reasons, they decided to opt out or to fight against social injustice, that money can help them from a league that needs attention and money, and a league that's doing fantastic things against social injustice in this moment right now. So for an NBA player who's also not playing due to injury and also opting out to support it, This is fantastic. And I would call and like to see other men with the means, whether owners who've got the funds that we talked about or other players, to support these women. We need to support women's sports and just watching it. But that's really showing up and being there for those women and doing it this way. And a lot of the women in WNBA and men have done a great job in calling for justice for Breonna Taylor, as we all should. So, yeah, absolutely. Kudos to Kyrie for that, man. Kudos.
Yeah, and this is somebody who also has the Kyrie Irving Invitational. I don't know if that's the exact name of it, but where he has women's basketball high school teams play at the Barclays Center, and this is something that he's done annually. Like, people could say, and myself included, could say what they want about him as a player and whether or not you want him to lead your team and quote unquote and all that stuff. But in terms of putting his money where his mouth is for these sort of causes, this is what he wants to do, and this is what he has done throughout the course of his career. And that's why when he does stuff like this, there are a lot of athletes, women in particular, who, you know, show a lot of love for him and say like, yo, this is what he does, this is what he's about. Now, it's still possible that he retires in 2 or 3 years, and when he does, he's going to probably do more stuff like this. I could see a path to him getting heavily involved with the WNBA by the time he does retire, and I do think that's going to be relatively earlier than people expect. But I think he's going to put that aside so that he can continue to fight for these social causes. So, you know, I hope other athletes step forward and, you know, could contribute what they can. But I more so hope that we stop looking to athletes to have to do this and look at the 1%ers and really put the pressure on them, because those are the people who really benefit from everything that goes on in this country. And those are the people who really need to be making these donations. And I think I'm not really looking for athletes in that way, like, because I know they're going to do it. Like, most of them are charitable in that way. It's the people who stay up there at the very top of this country who don't really, you know, they're not really charitable in a lot of ways, and there's a reason why they stay up there on the Forbes list and things of that nature.
Yo, see, right. we about to break out into a political and economics podcast right now, because, you know, I'm in my bag with this. Look, here's the thing about the charitable donation and charity as an entire industry. If the 1%ers actually paid their fair share of taxes, we wouldn't need charities. We'd be straight. If they actually paid
full stop.
their share. Full stop. No need for the charitable industries. So everybody that wants to get on there but like, oh, look how much money Bill Gates and Warren Buffett give to blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. But if Jeff Bezos pays his normal taxes that he should pay, we gonna be good. We don't need people coming out of pocket with 100 million, 200 million here. We don't need that, because this is how a functioning society works. But that aside, again, kudos to Kyrie. Look, Kyrie's an easy target to make fun of and get on because of flat earth and all this other stuff. But look, the man put his money where his mouth is, and this is a cause that means a lot to him. If you talk to him or people around him through Rock Nation, this isn't like lip service that he's doing. Like, he actually cares about this stuff and is very concerned and wants to. That's when we were having those conversations. Remember that he was having separate calls with people in WNBA, and they were like, oh, Kyrie's trying to lead a mutiny. It wasn't even trying to lead a mutiny. Dude was like, are we sure we want to do this? Like, his point was like, yo, if we sit out and put resources together, we could do something, right? That's what he was trying to do. Guys, if we all collectively get together, put out some funds, because you think about it, right? Between Bryan, KD, all the top staff, all the top earners, every one of them dudes breaks off some cash, right? So that way the dudes who are way at the bottom, who are like two ways or whatever, that they got a little fun where they can draw money from. We're like, all right, we can sustain you for the rest of the year. You good. Let's put the rest of this money into some social causes and do some things. They can make a powerful statement. They didn't end up doing that. Obviously, you know, part of the thing was, you know, it's Kyrie, whatever. But I love the fact that he is like, all right, nobody wants to roll with me on it. I'll do it myself. It's cool. Like, he cares about it. And ultimately, that's what we need. If we're gonna actually be better as a society, and that's what this COVID pandemic has brought forth. Like, we're fucked up. Like, we don't treat each other well. Like, we just don't. Like, this is an awful place, and we do awful things to our fellow human being. But maybe we're starting to be like, you know, if we do a little bit better, we might be all right. Hopefully, one day. Wishful thinking, but shouts to Kyrie.
And you know what? Going off of what you just said, this is the most F words I've ever heard Jarod say on the podcast, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Every time I'm here.
It's incredible.
Yeah, Bryan brings that out.
Here we are. But seriously, like you said, Kyrie kind of separates himself from the group. He doesn't really go and do what everyone says. He joins the people like the Colin Kaepernicks of the world, the John Lewises of the world, who step aside and fight for these things. So these people are champions. And, going off of that, we have the WNBA. They have dedicated their entire 2020 season to social justice. I mean, this is an incredible thing. They announced the launch of their new platform, the Justice Movement, and the creation of the WNBPA Social Justice Council. Now, this ties in with WNBA players who have been fighting for social justice long before everything that begun with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, but they are amplifying that with Breonna Taylor's name on the back of their jerseys. And we also saw the headlines with the Storm and the Liberty in their season opener walking off the court before the anthem. There were some conflicting reports that said they were walking off during, but
ain't no conflicting report. That was just that one idiot Fox woman who said that during the anthem, and it wasn't that. It was well before the anthem. Right. We see you. Right. We see y'all.
Where people talk and it gets messy, but to clarify, they walked off together, unified, which is the word to use, before. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on this, just because I love the subject of supporting women always. And we do need to mention that these WNBA women and these champions and these mothers and these basketball players, second after being mothers and fighters for social justice, they've been doing this for a very long time. And we're just shining the light on them now. And I think we can all collectively agree when I say the light gets shone on them after the fact, almost always.
We need to amplify them. We need to amplify them.
I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this as males in this industry.
I think we got to amplify them more, right? Look, the WNBA players, and this is no shade to the NBA, they just do a better job than the guys do. Point blank, period. Like, they've been about this and champion this well ahead of the dudes. And when you think about it, there's more at risk for them, right? You could be like, well, their money's smaller. Yeah, that's why it's more at risk. Their money's smaller. A lot of these women ain't going overseas playing in Russia and China or whatever. WNBA is it for them. That's where they get their money. So if somebody messes with that, that's their legit livelihood. They don't have $100 million sneaker deals and all that. Now, not every NBA player has a $100 million sneaker deal, but a lot of the top guys, and the money that they make is just way bigger, right? They've got massive contracts. So there's a way in which the women are doing better in terms of stepping forward, and I think it's on the NBA players. All right, I love the commercials y'all make. You rock the orange hoodies. Yeah, we care about this. I love it. I love all that. But I want y'all to go out and do in the community with them like they're doing. That's what I'd love to see.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this, I'm not surprised at this from the WNBA. They've been doing this for quite some time, and Jarod talks about the NBA being a black league, and the WNBA is very heavily that much too. And as a black man, one thing I think we know and we got to acknowledge is black women have done a lot of the work in our community fighting against social injustice. So I'm not surprised to see it here. But Jarod is right with the word that he said. We have to uplift these women. And the beautiful thing about the WNBA, because a lot of our white sisters are playing in the WNBA too, and they are, with their black sisters working together, uplifting and denouncing anybody who's against that message and mission. So to see the women of all colors and backgrounds be unified, as you said, Jenna, in that is absolutely beautiful. And you know what? There was all that conflicting report about if they had walked, they walked off during the national anthem, which wasn't true. And if they did, and okay, were y'all really going to get so mad? What were people going to do? Say they're not going to go to another WNBA game anymore, as people like to lie and say that they're going to do? I applauded them because I know how Bryan feels about the anthem and it being played and it's sort of being a waste of time, which I think is fair to question during this time, right? Like, why are you even playing this before this game?
Why are we even doing it?
But the fact that they did and the statement that they made in that, and I do want to say that says, hey, this anthem does not stand for the values that this country has espoused it or said that it's supposed to be. This doesn't reflect. This is exactly why we're having these social injustice causes and why we're fighting against this. So, they are turning their back to say on the anthem, and I salute them for it. Let's not salute the flag. Let's salute the ladies of the WNBA.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, the anthem thing was kind of funny when I heard and saw that. I remember I actually told Dexter on the last episode we did. I was like, I used to do that same thing. I used to just stay in the locker room when I was SID at St. Francis. They would play the national anthem.
Well, we're not surprised.
I would stay in the bathroom. I was like, I ain't coming out for that shit.
A rebel with the cause. A rebel with the cause.
At like age 11, he was probably like, this shit.
Yo, so what? No, but when I was
he didn't say no.
But here's the thing. It's like when I was in the first grade, they used to make us do the Pledge of Allegiance like before school every day, where someone would read it over the whatever that shit is called.
Loudspeaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, loudspeaker. There you go. And then we had to like repeat it. I was like standing there, and I would just be like, "Yo, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing?" We're 6 years old. So.
Let you know that he just said first grade. He used to stand there.
Well, we heard worse. We already heard he was a wrestling and a boxing fan at 3.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
but you're not wrong though, Bryan. You're not wrong.
But with the WNBA, I mean, trying to do my part and raise visibility was why I wanted to cover the Liberty in 2017. You know what I mean? During that summer, so I wanted to. I guess I felt like I was doing my part, if that's the case, because they have the stigma of being a black league, a black women league, and then there are a lot of lesbians in the league. So a lot of people look at that and be like, "Oh, I don't want to watch, gay women play basketball, whatever." There's still a lot of that's out there too. So they have a lot more to fight for. And to Jarod's point, they're risking a lot more because they don't have the financial stability. I mean, they just struck a deal, a new CBA before this, markedly better than the one they had before. Mm-hmm. It's still nothing compared to what the NBA is getting, right? So there's a lot that they're fighting for. There's so many examples that we just don't simply have the time for, whether it's, everything that the Minnesota Lynx has done with Maya Moore leading the charge, and then Maya Moore herself giving up her career and
in her prime.
Multiple seasons in her prime.
Not even just in her prime, in the middle of her prime, being arguably the best player ever in that league, and giving that up because basically to fight social injustice and, her friend Jonathan and getting him out of prison, which obviously took 2 seasons away. We don't even know if she's ever going to play again. And quite frankly, it doesn't even matter in the bigger picture. So, yeah, I'm going to continue to watch and support the WNBA because they do a lot of great things as well. And on top of that, the basketball is also good. So people should watch it for that reason as well.
Shouts to Maya Moore and WNBA, man.
That is right. And my brother recently had a baby girl. So your girl's going to get her right in front of that.
That's right.
Sure, what's up?
That's right.
All right. We got to switch gears here to Dexter's shirt. He's wearing a Knicks shirt for all of you who aren't watching this, but if you're listening, he is wearing a Knicks shirt because the Knicks have a new coach in Tom Thibodeau. And they finalized a 5-year deal to make him the franchise's next head coach at Madison Square Garden for the New York Knicks. So what do we think of this choice, guys? I mean, the guy has a great reputation around the league. He's well respected by some of the top players in the league. Tell me what your thoughts are and if this 5-year deal can get our Knicks in the playoffs.
Look, I'll say this, and I'll leave it short. Their success will depend on if Tom Thibodeau realizes I can build a culture of toughness and accountability without grinding my players into the ground. If he can figure out the calculus and the balance between that, stay straight. If he can't, it's a wrap.
I mean, I don't think it's deep. I don't think it's much deeper than that, right? Like there's some concerns about his offensive philosophies too, which I think are a little bit overblown. I had a friend who, and I talked about this in our podcast, who said they were concerned about can he develop players, and he wanted Atkinson over him, and I think Thibodeau doesn't get enough credit for his development of players. You have to look back to the 2010-2011 season with the Bulls. He coached the youngest MVP in league history. He got Joakim Noah to be a defensive player of the year that year. He also developed one of Bryan's boys, Jimmy Butler. Okay, this guy has done this. So I'm actually excited about what he can do for Mitchell Robinson. I really am. Kevin Knox. Can he? RJ, what he can do for RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett might want to look at somebody like Jimmy Butler's games to emulate. But it really does come down to what Jarod said, right? Is can he find that balance? I think New York is going to like Thibodeau because Thibodeau coached here during some of the glory years, if you want to say, during the 90s, under Van Gundy, under Riley. He knows that culture. Knicks fans like that tough, defensive-minded first culture in basketball. That's all well and great. It's about how we can evolve the culture. We don't know. All these questions, all these coaches have question marks unless you're like Popovich or Carlisle or, Doc Rivers. Mm-hmm. Most of the coaches have their question marks. So, of course he did. But is this a good hire? Is this a hire that tells me the Knicks actually want to change the culture and somebody who we know has changed cultures? Yes. If you're a Knicks fan, this is what you want. Is he going to get us to the promised land? I don't know. You know what I mean? But damn, we're just trying to get to the playoffs. We're just trying to get to the playoffs.
Y'all trying to play 500 ball. Y'all trying to play 500 ball.
You know what I mean? Like people worried about too much about. Like, do I want to see a championship, Jenna? Of course. Do I want to wear this shirt a little bit more proudly? Absolutely. But do I think this man can change the culture? Yes. I think the players are going to respect him if he finds the balance of, hey, we're going to practice hard, but I'm going to make sure you also take care of your body, you have your time for yourself, and you can love this game and what we're building. And if they do that, to Jarod's point, what that in turn is going to have an effect, guys, is when players come and ask around, we don't know what's going on. What's the culture been like at the Knicks? And people are like, yo, Tom's good to play for. He's going to hold you accountable. It's going to be hard, but like, you really want to play with him here, and we don't really hear too much from the guy upstairs. We'll come play here. We'll be good. I think if that happens, it will be fine. So I like the hire. I'm optimistic. I'm actually optimistic about some of the stuff the Knicks have done since the Porzingis trade, which I hated. But since then, they've actually done some pretty good things. So
Leon Rose, Worldwide West. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
We will see. Like you said, I feel optimistic.
Yeah, I think in terms of just resumes, if you're comparing all of the coaches that they interviewed once, twice, whatever the case may be, this is the best option that you had. The only coach that I would have made a case for over Tom Thibodeau would be Kenny Atkinson because of his player development. I know that's a term that's worn out in regards to Kenny Atkinson, but that's what he does, and that's what he specializes in. I think that could be somebody who greatly benefits RJ Barrett. However, I think this Tom Thibodeau hire is perfect for RJ Barrett because this is somebody who says and who, by all accounts, is somebody who wants to be coached hard, somebody who really wants that toughness, who is somebody who is going to embody what New York Knicks basketball wants to be, and that's an actual, tough team. I always say, if you ain't going to win, at least be annoying. So I think that if the Knicks can at least build a team that's going to be, if you're not going to contend and win championships, at least be like the Memphis Grizzlies, like with Tony Allen and Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. Like, just fuck people up.
Welcome to the grindhouse.
You're right, exactly. And Tom Thibodeau is somebody who I think could greatly benefit RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson. If you're looking at all the hires that the Knicks have had recently, this is the best one that this is the best coach that they've had since Jeff Van Gundy, period. Like, on everything that he's done, based on anything that he can do moving forward. He has ties to the Knicks, which Dexter mentioned, which is also something that is, I think that works in his favor here. And with the roster now, I mean, look, there's going to be some people like Dennis Smith Jr. is not long for here. Kevin Knox, I don't think he's going to be long for the Knicks. And I think that, Tom Thibodeau, this is kind of a make or break time for guys like Kevin Knox and Dennis Smith Jr. I think those guys are going to be broken. Sorry. But RJ Barrett, this is really about RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, and I guess to some degree Julius Randle, depending on whether he's in the long-term plans or not. Right. And, the draft. The draft is obviously very important. So are they going to get LaMelo Ball, which is who I think they should get?
I will say this. It's a little too early, I think, to give up on Knox. He's still super young. And I only know what I hear about him in whispers. I don't know, I haven't seen him in practice. I don't know what it's like. But again, it's about Thibodeau, as I said. The man can coach. Ain't no denying that. I can see that in my sleep. Can he maintain and realize, okay, RJ Barrett, I could grind on this dude. That'll work. Kevin Knox, might have to grind a little less hard on him, but can I still get it out, right? That's the ability of a good coach. Recognizing on a team of 12 or 15, the way I talk to Bryan ain't the same way I talk to Jenna, ain't the same way I talk to Dexter, right? That's what the mark of a good coach is. Bryan's the kind of dude I can F-bomb him, and that'll work, right? He'll get amped up and do what he got to do. Somebody else, probably not going to work for them, right? And that's what a good coach knows, how to communicate my message effectively to whoever the recipient is.
Remember,
I
and,
like
and,
that.
and let me just add this too. Have we all seen the video of Tom Thibodeau telling Jay Crowder, "You want to meet me in the back or meet me outside or whatever it is"? Look, any head coach who's willing to go to the back with Jay Crowder, I'm in. You know what I'm saying? That's Jay Crowder.
Sign Bryan up right now.
Tweets in all caps. I'm just saying, Jay Crowder.
He's right.
Tweets in all caps.
Sign-
he only
sign-
tweets in all caps.
Sign Bryan up. Sign Bryan up for Tibbs right now. He ready to battle.
Great point.
He's ready.
Great point that he only tweets
Dex.
in all caps.
Next, even though R.J. Barrett was the 3rd overall pick and Jimmy Butler was 30th overall in their respective drafts, if he has a Jimmy Butler-like career, would you take that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Knicks fan.
But Jimmy's been all NBA, right? At least once, I think.
He's only been twice.
He's only been an all-star
Multiple times. And multiple times, and he's going to get it again this year.
Right. So yeah,
let me go ahead and look this up. Let me make sure. I know he's been an all-star multiple times, but all NBA, that's a different thing. But go ahead, Jenna, while I look this up.
I think it's twice, yeah.
No. I just to add to that, I like the pick in Thibodeau, and not to mention, 5 years gives him enough time to get in there, like you guys said, try and change, different things up, try and coach these guys individually. And if there's anyone that's made for New York, it's him. Like you guys said, he had the experience there, and he's got that kind of hard exterior. He knows how to coach. It's just going to be adjusting to the Garden, which I think he'll have no problem with.
4-time All-NBA defense, 2-time All-NBA. So, yeah. He good.
Remember, I compared him to Chris Mullin in player versus player.
If R.J. Barrett can do that, shit, you good money.
You
good money.
All right. Shifting gears here, because we need to talk about something that I am very interested to hear everybody's answer about. All right. Now, do we need to kind of reevaluate how we think about current players versus all-time greats? Jarod, I can't even take credit for this one. You brought this one up from your guy, Bomani Jones, on his podcast, The Right Time. He was talking with Vince Goodwill of Yahoo Sports, and they were discussing how, NBA superstars, they give teams a different chance at winning championships. And when it came to Steph Curry, Goodwill, he didn't shade him, or you could question whether he did or not. He says he didn't, but he called him the greatest system player of all time. He said, quote, "But you're not going to go 1 to 4 flat and then be like, get us a bucket." So, I want to hear everybody's thoughts on this, because he called him the greatest system player of all time.
So I thought this was interesting, guys, and I wanted to bring it up because we're all fans of Bo. We've met him, we've talked to him, interviewed him, all that, and I'm going to bring it to a larger sort of point here. And I think paradigms are something very difficult for us as human beings to change, right, in our minds as time goes on. I'm of a certain age, right? Like, I grew up 84, 85 finals was my first memory of basketball, right? I saw basketball a certain way as a young kid, and then literally as I, into my teens, whatever, it was 90s ball, right? That is very different basketball than what we see right now as what's good, right? And so Bomani and Vinny were talking about, obviously, who gives you a chance to win a championship, right? Of course, the easy ones. LeBron, KD healthy, right? And he goes, what about Steph Curry? And that's when Bo was like, he's like, I got to know more. Who else is on my team? And I thought that was an interesting perspective. And it is so fascinating to me because he said, it's not like we can go 1-4 flat and say, Steph, get me a bucket. He's like, I'd rather get Kyrie or Dame to do that for me. And in actuality, I think Bo was actually wrong on that point. If you watch the 2015 Warriors, okay, there were tons of plays late in the clock where Steph went ISO one-on-one and got the shot. It looked different than what we're used to seeing, right? If Dame catches you on an island, he's likely going to cross you, go to the rack, right? Kyrie's going to contort his body, end up behind the backboard and throw up, and it's going to be something different. Steph will cross you and jack from 30, right? It's a different looking way, but he still gets the shot. But the problem that Steph has, and Bo admitted to this, the lasting memory that most people have of Steph Curry in isolation is the 2016 NBA Finals when he couldn't shake Kevin Love, right? He's got Love on him, and he couldn't shake him. Now, I don't want no excuses. He was hurt, whatever. It doesn't matter. But That was one isolated incident. Yes, on the largest stage in Game 7. So yes, it has an extra weight to it, but that was one time. Steph is an excellent isolation player. It just looks different than what Kyrie and Damian and these guys do. I think it's a paradigm thing, right? I was talking to Jenna earlier. It's like if all of a sudden we were told rain actually is dry and dry is actually wet. You'd be like, what? That's some bullshit. Like, you wouldn't believe it. You'd be like, nah, your brain could not comprehend what I just said. And that's what I think so many of us of that generation have a tough time when we watch Steph. We see it and we're like, nah, but he like 6'3", dude. I don't know, man. That ain't it. He's just jacking shots. You can't quite quantify it because it's not what we're used to seeing. He literally changed the game. So in that regard, I do think Bo was wrong on that. But on a larger point, do we need to re-examine how we compare current era versus former era? Because a guy like James Harden is so polarizing. Say what you want about, he baits fouls, whatever. If you look at the rate at which that dude scores and the efficiency level, that is some all-time historic stuff. Yes, it's different than what we're used to seeing. So I want to open it up to the floor to see what my compadres think about it.
Yeah, I think on a wider level, we need to re-examine just about everything we do in terms of sports evaluation. And this is why I like comparing, or not comparing, but taking one thing and being like, and we've done this before in numerous group chats, obviously, and let's use those Warriors, for example. If instead of Steph Curry, they have Damian Lillard, are they still getting 3 championships? Are they still this? Are they still that? Because I think that could sort of shape your thinking in terms of like, how are you comparing one great player to another? That's probably the truest way you can do it, outside of maybe if they played each other one-on-one, although team basketball and one-on-one obviously very, very different. So if I'm doing that, for example, I'm probably tempted to say that the Warriors win still 2 championships. But why is that?
The 2 with KD.
Right. That's probably because of Kevin Durant more so than Steph Curry, because at the time where they won the first championship, Damian Lillard wasn't really Damian Lillard until the next season. He was still very good at that point, but he didn't become a top flight, like elite point guard until the next season. So in that year, do they beat the Cavs? I don't know.
So that 15 Warriors team, that was Steph Curry's first MVP year. Take him off and put peak Lillard on. Do they win the 2015 title?
I think so, yeah.
Interesting. I say no, but interesting
argument.
I say no too.
But here's the thing, and here's why I like doing this with players, is because I really don't think one is that much. Like, there's not a ton of separation between 1 and like 4, and then you go down to 8. Like, these are all great players at the end of the day. Like, yeah, you're gonna see a big drop off from like 25 to 50, but when you're talking about the most elite players, how much better is Steph Curry than Damian Lillard, really?
I would
their
like to.
Peaks, they're very similar. Steph Curry, yes, is the best shooter ever. Damian Lillard, out of
That's
all
the
point guards,
difference.
hold on. But here's the thing: Damian Lillard, out of all point guards ever, is maybe the second or third best shooter ever. Steve Nash is the only other one in that class. So is that drop off enough to take them away from a championship?
I will say this. I think the gap between Steph and Dame is a lot wider than you think it is. Like, Steph's lot better than Damian Lillard.
It is.
A lot better.
I don't think so.
Let me say why I think I think Bryan thinks it's closer than I think it is. I do think Dame is probably number 2 for me, but I think that the gap is the threat of the shot and how good Steph shoots it. And that goes to Jarod's point of why it looks different for people. The 2 things I think that are overrated in basketball among fans watching it, and why they have a problem judging things, we overrate aggression and athleticism. And if we don't see a certain thing like that, then that's what we deem as like, oh, it's not that good. Steph Curry and James Harden, who I know Bryan doesn't care for, but Jarod mentioned, James Harden does not have the athleticism that a lot of people love. So a lot of his game is on deception, and no matter how you feel about it is. To some degree, so is Steph Curry. It's speed, handle, and deception. But the thing that I think makes him great, that is undervalued for him in this era, is the threat of the shot and where he can shoot it from and how accurate he can do it. That's what makes it dangerous. Lillard has range, but when he shoots, I do not feel the way about it that when Curry shoots. I feel good about it, but I do not feel the same way about it when Curry shoots and he pulls up and he's hot. Like, that's what makes him so tough to guard. even in the mid-range, because you know if he's attacking and going to, he can stop on a dime, pull up, and there's a good chance it's going to be money. Dame can do that too, not with the same efficiency, and that is the difference between those two players. And so I think it is wrong. Where I'm agreeing, it is wrong. You can tell me Steph Curry probably needs to pick to get the shot off where he can shake you, but he can, and he's still a dangerous scorer if you want to go 1-4 flat. And yes, I do think he can get to the bucket and get his own shot.
So to the point of, I guess, Vinny Goodwill or Bomani Jones or whoever made the point.
So to be clear, Bo was the one who said he's the greatest system player of all time. Because Vinny had said, what about Steph? And Bo was like,
right. Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying. To that point, if you do make a swap, how dramatic is the difference? If Steph Curry is all of a sudden on Portland, Damian Lillard is all of a sudden on Golden State. If you're Portland, if you're Golden State, and you're making that switch for whatever reason, like is the difference really that dramatic? I don't think it is. If they're both at their peaks, I don't think it's that dramatic. I think
Here's what I'll say.
I do think, and let me reiterate this. Yes, Steph Curry is better than Damian Lillard. Like, let's not get crazy. However, if I'm putting them in a video game and Steph Curry's overall is like a 95, Damian Lillard to me is a 93. That's how I'm looking at it.
Here's what I'll say. If you swap them in their primes, the Warriors don't win the title, but they're still obviously a playoff team, probably win 50-something games, whatever. Portland, however, they ain't winning the title either, but they are considerably better than where they were. They ain't battling for the 8 seed. Yeah, they ain't battling for the 8 seed. They ain't an 8 seed. They are up. I'm telling that.
I don't know.
And
about
listen, and you know what's funny about it, right? Because it's like I had this whole thing going back and forth with Warriors fans. I'm like, okay, yes, I know, but like KD's actually better, but it's fine. Doesn't matter. The reality of it.
That's the thing that swings this whole. Like that's the reason they get the 2 rings at the end.
And that's think about it, right? That no doubt, and that. That in a way oddly hurts Steph Curry's legacy and mind, and for some people, because they're like, well, was he the dude on that team? So here's the thing: we'll get to see it all again because they ain't got no KD when they come back whenever next season starts, right? So it's gonna be him, Draymond, Clay, some number 1 pick, and Andrew Wiggins or whatever.
James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, and Eric Pascal.
We'll see what that is. But that
you're right.
Because I remember I watched that dude up close for 2 years. Those 2 back-to-back MVP years. Yo, that dude was unreal. Like
one of the best players I've ever seen.
30 that second season when he was like 30 points, 7 assists, like 6 I was like, Jesus, 3 I was like, who is this dude? I mean, literally you could not stop that dude. I was like, this might be the greatest basketball player in the league.
To that point, what people are going to hold against him for the rest of his career is, I mean, I don't know if he'll ever get another championship, but let's say he doesn't because, in all likelihood.
They'll hold that against him, of course.
Right. If it's Curry versus the field, you're going to take the field for the rest of his career. So if he winds up with 0 finals MVPs, and people could say what they want about, like, oh, how he graded that and he should have gotten it over Andre Iguodala, whatever the case may be. 0 finals MVPs. That's going to be held against him. Like if all is said and done and we think that he should be the 13th greatest player ever, I'm just throwing out a number, 13th, people are going to drop him out of the top 20 because of that, especially when the first one, no offense, was Andre Iguodala, a role player on your team. Good one, but a role player on your team.
No doubt.
And then the other 2 was obviously Kevin Durant, you know what I'm saying, who's basically Slim Jesus and maybe a top 10 player ever.
Well, you're going to get no argument from me on that. I will say this about Curry. What I think is part of his issue, too, is that his style of play and his game, as you wear on later in the season because of his body type, that makes it harder for him in the most high leverage situation, i.e. the NBA Finals, right? Because look, when you think about it, watch the NBA Finals closely. It's not always great basketball being played, right? That is a war of attrition, particularly in Game 7s. It's just like, ugh. It's just ugly. It's literally whoever can, like, stand up straight and get a bucket to go in. And all that, like, bombing from 40 and running around and doing all that, that shit starts getting much harder come NBA Finals, Game 5, Game 6, Game 7. And because that is like his superpower and what everybody's like, ooh, and he doesn't do it in the biggest moment, that's what gets him a negative look. But I think you're right, Brian. If he doesn't win a title again, that'll be a part of his legacy that people point to. They go, all right, you won 1 title without KD, and no matter what, you were up 3-1, Draymond punched dude in the nuts, blah, blah, whatever, y'all got a 3-1 lead and you lost. So what's good?
And And on top of that, there's another element to this that we didn't mention yet. And the organization, I feel like, also matters a lot. Just in terms of how we grade guys. And, you never know what would have happened. You never know what would have happened if Michael Jordan went to Portland or this guy went here. So all that stuff matters too, because just organizational stability in any field, not just basketball, but like in your office that you work at, that stuff matters too in terms of who's going to be great, who's not. Because if you don't have that infrastructure, it's just not going to happen for you. Because we've seen a lot of great players just being wasted away on talented teams. I mean, Devin Booker is kind of going through that right now, though I wouldn't call him a great player. He's obviously very, very talented. Yeah. And he's somebody who, I mean, he has maybe the second worst ownership group in the NBA, maybe?
Yeah,
you know? So.
Might be the worst. Well, no.
Yeah.
No, he ain't the Knicks. he ain't on the Knicks.
All right, here's where your girl comes in. All great points except for that last one, Jarod. And what I will say to this conversation is, unfortunately, we live in a cancel culture where people have a very short attention span. So nobody is remembering the greatness of Steph Curry before Kevin Durant. So unfortunately, his legacy in a way is dented because of all this. In my opinion, the true test will be now the post-Kevin Durant era. Mm-hmm. So we will see how Steph Curry will perform. But we have to talk about the other stars who are currently performing, because right now it's the first week back at school and everybody looks fun and they're all smiling. But let's talk about the fact that, yeah, we know LeBron James is locked in. He's doing his LBJ thing. But let's talk about some wild cards. Ben Simmons. Pre-pandemic, he was sidelined with a back injury. He's had time to heal. He was at the point guard position. Now he's playing power forward. According to ESPN's Jackie McMullen, he agreed to see a sports psychologist to work on his three-point shot. Now we are seeing a headband. Simmons knocking down threes in scrimmages, looking great in the bubble. But is this back to school jitters, or are we on something new with Ben Simmons here? And because I have said this before on this podcast, and I will say it again, and I'm sure this is a commonality in a lot of places within the media, don't laugh at me.
No, I'm laughing at Dexter because I see him cocking back right now. I know what's about to happen.
Ben Simmons is an MVP caliber player except for the shot. So if this if this works out, he be on his way to being a different caliber player on that MVP level. I want to hear your thoughts. Dexter, you're in the seat.
So you said that he spoke with the psychologist, right? Sports psychologist, and it was supposed to work.
Agreed to see a sports psychologist about working on it. We don't know much.
Right. Agreed to seeing a psychologist working on a three-point shot. And my issue with that is it never was about Ben Simmons' three-point shot. You know what it was about? That he does not shoot. Like, he doesn't shoot anywhere at all whatsoever. That's always been my issue, is like he doesn't have the balls to shoot. I really hate to I'm not really trying to emasculate him in that way, but he just seemed to be afraid of shooting. And my thing is, the proof is going to be in the pudding in what we see. Do I like what Brett Brown has decided to do and try to put him at the 4 and use him in a way which some people have talked about for, can he play in a sort of Draymond Green role where he can initiate the offense within the half court because he is such a good passer. He's got good height. He finishes well around the rim. He can get rebounds and do all that stuff. And maybe in transition, he's the guy you can give it to and say, go. And he's going to make the right pass and right play in transition. But here's what it comes down to, guys. Is he going to shoot the ball? I don't care where you put him 1 through 5. Is he going to actually shoot? And if he had, and I'm being very serious about this, if he felt the need to talk to a sports psychologist, that is not a laughing matter. People struggle with all things in terms of mental health. And if that's what gave him a breakthrough, to give him the confidence to be able to do it, then I applaud the young man for doing that. And I hope he has the confidence to do it. But I seriously hope he has the confidence to do it, because it's going to help his team and himself. Because I think the thing I feared, and the thing Bryan and I talked about this on the podcast, was what happens in a late game situation, and this is pre-pandemic, if the Sixers were down 2 points, and Simmons is open for a 3, and he gets the ball, and it's 3 o'clock, is he going to shoot that, or is he going to pass it up? And that was always, and you didn't want that to come down to that situation in the playoffs for a team that has championship aspirations. They need this guy to be confident. I hope that he's confident, but here's what it comes down to again. He has to shoot. All right, he needs to hear that voice from the old Chappelle sketch with Prince. You know, shoot the J. Young people are probably not going to get that.
Hey,
But
he looks good right now.
Yeah.
He says he feels good. He says he's,
Everybody's in the
he
best
doesn't
shape
really
of their life,
care
Jim.
about the position. Hey, I am trying here to fight for BS.
I
That
see
is Ben
that.
Simmons, not
I
bullshit.
see. Okay.
Brian,
Yeah, well, if he doesn't shoot, that's bullshit.
what you
Yes,
gonna say,
Gerard.
Brian? What you gonna say, Brian? Because I'm
I
waiting for
only
this.
have two. I only have two things to say about this Ben Simmons thing.
Oh God.
I don't care until I see it in the playoffs regarding his shot. I'm glad he went to see a sports psychologist. That's not a laughing matter. But in terms of the jump shot itself, don't care until he starts making them when they matter. We're still in scrimmages or whatever the case may be. And we've seen him shoot threes in preseason and in the gym and stuff like that. One. Two, this is a question. And I'm dead serious when I ask this. It's going to sound funny, but I'm dead serious. Is he still with the Jenner girl?
Nah, they broke up, right?
No.
Okay.
She's been seen with Devin Booker like a million times. Keep up.
So that means he might be fine.
He might be an MVP now.
make-
He might be an MVP
You
now.
actually believe in that curse?
Yes.
Listen, James Harden dumped Chloe, homie became an MVP. I'm telling you, like,
Yeah. If
Oh,
Kanye
you're
West
actually
could ever get rid of Kim Kardashian, he might make another good album.
oh.
No, I
You know what
think the issues are deeper than that.
Yeah.
But yes.
And now I'm a little worried about Devin Booker. I mean,
Yeah.
Devin Booker, by the way, whose mother is Puerto Rican. I'm a little concerned. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to D Book. Look, here's what I'll say about Simmons. I'm glad he saw the sports psychologist. I have a weird feeling that the bubble, because there ain't no fans there, are gonna oddly help him because there's no one there to clown him in the immediate because there's no one there. You just got to keep it going.
Right.
I think that's gonna have a positive effect on him because he doesn't have to worry about the crowd being like, oh, and like. It's like, all right, fucking you.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
I think that'll help him. Two, it's what I've been saying about Ben since forever. It don't matter. You put him at the 4, the 2, it doesn't matter. Yeah. He just has to shoot. He is immensely talented. Like, we've all had the privilege of seeing him up close and live. He's so good. Like,
and lefty.
Oh, yeah.
And lefty. That's important.
And he's so big. He's huge.
6'10". 6'10".
Like, him and Embiid next to each other is like, good Lord. Like, he's massive. If he just shoots the ball, like, hell, you know who's not a good shooter? Russ. But Russ shoots, right? Shit, if he just shoots the damn ball.
That is true.
All right.
He did miss basically every shot he took when he came back, but he just had the coronavirus, so we gotta give him a minute.
So that's what I want for Ben. I just want him to keep shooting, and Philly will be an interesting team as we move into some more talk about the bubble and about predictions.
Right.
Look, the stars have done what stars do. Harden's look good. Giannis has looked good. LeBron's look. I mean, stars have done star things. Cool.
Lou Williams.
Yeah, Lou. What I find interesting is this: the other guys, the role players, right, and the young guys. So Mike Malone didn't have Jamal Murray and some other guys early. He played a lot of Bol, right? Played Bol, Jokic at the same time. And Bol's actually looked great in the scrimmages. But is Malone, when it comes time to those finished last regular season games and then we go in the playoffs, is he going to trust Bol? Probably not. Bol probably ain't getting no burn, right? But good step for him. So let's not overreact, but I liked what I saw from Bol. And I'm like, yo, you could be on this court. Good stuff. The Lakers. Here's what I'm going to say about them. LeBron is going to do, first of all, LeBron looks like fucking he got shot out of a cannon. I'm like, damn, son, we just on scrimmages.
Literally.
But I will say this. The key to the Lakers, if they're going to win the title this season, is Anthony Davis. I have watched the Lakers scrimmages, particularly the last one against Orlando. And remember I always talk about who are those players in the league? There's only a handful of them who could be an MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, right? Who can be like Giannis, right? There's only 4 dudes who could do that. Yo, AD was blowing up every Orlando Magic action. Blowing it up. I was like, God damn. If he is doing that and contributing on offense, because that, first of all, that LeBron AD pick and roll, good luck, nightmare stopping that. And then if you get them in any action, AD could switch and they can switch on to anybody. They are going to be a tough out. And what we have not seen from Anthony Davis yet, and that doesn't mean we won't see it, he hasn't done it in the playoffs yet, right? We have not seen it. Now, just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but he is yet to do it. So I'm going to be watching them very closely to see, because LeBron's going to be generally what he is, which is excellent. Is Anthony Davis going to be that dude? Because if he is, shit, they got a better than good chance, right? Like, I might switch it from 50% than like 50-50 to be like, shit, they might have 60-70% chance. They're that good. So that's my early read of what I've been seeing.
And we're also forgetting, too, because this season feels like a lifetime, but this is AD's kind of first breakout, really like star team role. I mean, yes, he was the guy on the Pelicans, but it was really wishy-washy there. So to see him in this aspect, and, obviously, I think it's safe to say that unless certain things happen, the Lakers will be making it to the long run. But this is the first time we're going to see Anthony Davis in this type of special role. So I'm curious to see that, too.
I'm still the Lakers. I picked them at the beginning of the season. I'm still with them. I even think more so with this layoff. I think like Jarod talks about LeBron in the scrimmages. I think he's focused. I think LeBron is focused on many different ways about getting this championship at this age. I think he's focused on pushing the social justice stuff forward. I think there's going to be some things we're going to see from up his sleeve in this pandemic. And I think he's got Anthony Davis just as focused with him. The one thing that concerns me is the loss of Avery Bradley. Who obviously we understand why he had to opt out of this, because he's such a good perimeter defender and was knocking down the three at a pretty good rate. That's going to be interesting. Losing that hurts. So you're going to need guys like KCP to really step up. Can Caruso step up in those minutes? But I like the Lakers, man. I still just like them. I think that they're going to really put the pedal to the metal. Now, obviously, we all want to see them play the Clippers. That is the dream Western Conference Finals matchup. That's going to be interesting. But I'm also intrigued, and I don't want to hijack the pod, but how does everybody else feel about the Bucks? Because I'm leaning more, and I said this on our podcast, Jarod, and Bryan's a Miami Heat guy. He can say whatever he wants. We know he's a Miami Heat fan. And I'm leaning more into this idea of them being dangerous, the pandemic being a good layoff for them because of what Bam can do defensively against Giannis. And we saw that in the last time they played, right? And so that intrigues me very much. And I'm still not a huge believer in Milwaukee, even though they were fucking everybody up this year. I'm still not a huge believer in that. I'm very intrigued about the East, man, and Milwaukee and what they can do.
The East is going to be intriguing. And you know what's interesting? It goes back to that paradigm thing we talked about, right? Our brains and our minds work so funny. If we see it in the past, we believe it. If we haven't seen it, nah, we ain't down with that. But nobody won shit until they win shit. So how the hell do you know if they're going to be good enough or not, right? Again, I had this conversation with Shaq once. Shaq was telling me they don't got championship DNA. I go, Shaq, nobody has championship DNA until they win a championship. He goes, you're right about that. So, and I was like, all right, like
such a Shaq response, yo.
Like
literally.
And my position with Milwaukee, y'all know what it is. My eyes and the stats tell me Chris Middleton is not just good, is excellent. That's what my stats and my eyes tell me. But my brain, for some reason, doesn't want to go along with what I don't know why that is.
You don't know what it is?
It will not go along. Stats and eyes tell me he's excellent, but my brain's like, not something.
On a consistent level?
They're just
Chris
like
Middleton on a consistent level?
But all it is because he hasn't done it. But again, no one's done it until they do it.
But it's not even because of that. It's like it's also his game isn't particularly pretty. You know what I mean? He has a name.
But it
like,
works.
His name is his. Yeah, no, but it's like his name is Chris Middleton. Like there's just other stuff going on.
Yeah,
Chris
you gotta cloud his name.
You don't sound like a star. You know what I mean?
I mean, here's the thing, Jarod. Chris Middleton actually has been better.
I think that's what people are doing with him. And when you like, he's 20-something. He got a receding hairline already. Like I think people are just judging him. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Chris
They're putting
Middleton,
baby in the corner, just like Alex Caruso.
Chris Middleton actually has been better this year than he has last year.
Excellent.
To Jarod's point, I think if you're concerned about the Bucks, your concern shouldn't be with Chris Middleton. Your concern should be with who their third option is and how they get scoring. Do you trust Eric Bledsoe?
I do not.
I do not. Yeah.
Let me add this in when we're talking about just the overall. I mean, wait, back to the Lakers real quick. I actually am very curious about how the Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith thing is going to work. Not for comical reasons only, but I actually think those are two very important parts to what, because of Avery Bradley's absence, J.R. Smith's playoff experience.
Yes.
I know people are going to roll their eyes and be like, "Oh, but he ran out the timeout." Look, George Hill missed the free throw. All right,
no doubt.
George Hill missed the free.
No doubt.
Big facts. Big facts.
And Dion Waiters has some big game experience as well. Now, in the East, I think that this layoff, if you want to call it that, it does help some teams, but I think it really helps Miami, Boston, and Philly. 3 teams who are struggling, at least in some regard, by the time the season stopped. We know that Ben Simmons has had time to heal. Joel Embiid, he's always, questionable, quote unquote.
You already got a tight quad. I'm like, bro, it's been one scrimmage. How the hell you got a tight quad already?
I know, man. That concerns me.
Yeah, it concerns me, but
Well, he just put out a new commercial, so it could be it.
What?
He did.
And I love Joe. Like, I really do. Like, he's a really fun player to watch. Like,
but he should be a top 3 to 5 player every season.
Every season.
That's what it is. But I think Miami and Boston more so in the East. I'm paying attention to those two the most because Miami, before this is going on, they had their worst loss of the season. They had their worst loss of the season to Charlotte at home. But Tyler Hero's back now. He was hurt. Myers Leonard, big part of what they do. He's actually technically their starting center. Yeah, back and he was
Jimmy
hurt
got some
also.
rest.
Right. All of their players are playing. Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder, Solomon Hill, who were acquired in the trade, now have had more time to sort of get acclimated to what they're doing. Jimmy Butler was struggling with his jumper. Maybe he gets that in order now. Kendrick Nunn and Bam were the last 2 to come through, and now they're back. And the main thing with Boston I'm looking at is Kemba Walker had a really bad ankle injury before this going on.
Yeah.
He had a string of not Kemba-like games. Now he's had time to heal, and I think even still he's like kind of inching towards 100%, not like fully cleared yet. But that's going to be big for Boston because if they were just going down the road they were going down, it wasn't going to end well because his ankle was bad. It was messed up.
Here's what I'll say about the East. Beginning of the season, I picked the 76ers to come out of the East. They are having their issues. And the reason why I picked them is because the East's best player right now is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Shit, he might be the league's best player. Might be back-to-back MVP. If you have someone you can put on him who we can't muscle and is quick enough to hang with him, then it becomes, okay, can Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe beat your number 2 and your number 3 guy? All right? That becomes what the game is. Miami has a great advantage because he can't muscle Bam because Bam's just as strong as he is, and Bam's just about as quick as he is. So, yeah, you ain't going to shut Giannis down, but Bam will make his life much more difficult than he wants it to be. He won't be as efficient, all that. It also depends on how the refs call the game. Bam gets into early foul trouble. All right, that's problematic because then he'll feast on backups and whoever else gets to cover him. You know I love Philly on him because they can literally throw 3 dudes at him, right? Like, that's what makes Philly so good. You can bet on him. You can put Al on him. You can put Joel on him, right? Like, and we saw it on Christmas, right? Like, that's when Milwaukee had one of their few losses. The Sixers waxed them. And Joe met him at the rim multiple times and stuffed them, right? Like, those things can happen. And again, it's to your point, Dexter. Do I trust Eric Bledsoe when it matters? And I don't because his track record tells me I should not trust him. The other team we haven't talked about is Toronto. And they have quietly been doing their thing all year. Spicy P's gotten better. It's just like, ho-hum. Everybody just moving along. They fall in the right seeding place, and they can avoid Milwaukee early. Let Milwaukee get beat up by Milwaukee, even if they come by Miami, even if they come through that series. Toronto could be right there for the pickings. Knock them off, go back to the NBA Finals. So the East is going to be extremely interesting. The Western Conference, I talked about the Lakers, but I picked the Clippers to win the title beginning of the season, and nothing has moved me off of that. Because, yes, while LeBron AD and that pick and roll is devastating, to me, the Clippers have so many extra guys who can do stuff, right? We know what Kawhi and Paul George can do, but they got other dudes who can just get buckets and do things. And in the playoffs, it usually comes down to how many guys you got can just get me a bucket. They got listen, clown Reggie Jackson all you want. That dude can get his own bucket, right? Like, he can get a bucket, right? We know Lou can get a bucket. That Lou Montrez pick and roll, deadly, right? There are things they could do. And again, when they get all their defensive guys out on the floor, Pat Bev, PG, Kawhi, yo, man, they might shut you out for 6 minutes. Like, you might not score for 6 minutes. And guess what? That's it. That's the game right there. So I would love to see a Lakers-Clippers Western Conference Finals. I think we all. The other team I want to be mindful of in the West is Denver. Denver's had 2 years in a row of back-to-back Game 7 losses. And you know what? In the NBA, the old paradigm's always been you get better by taking your lumps early, right? Damn, lost that Game 7 again. We lost it again, right? Everyone saw The Last Dance. The Bulls had to battle their way through Boston, battle their way through the Pistons. All right? Are the Nuggets ready to make that step this year to be like, you know what? We done had some 2 Game 7 heartbreaks. We ready. We ready now. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and they better be, because the West is tough, and I actually think Portland's a team that could, I think, sneak up on somebody in the first round because they're healthy now. Yeah. We didn't think Zach Collins was going to play this year. Nurkic wasn't going to play until later on, and now they're both back.
Wait. So you saying that Portland's going to knock my Grizzlies out of that 8 spot? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah.
With the way Ja's playing.
I think it's very possible. Well, we'll see.
Jarod, you look so hurt. Like you do not want that to happen.
Yeah.
I don't. Listen.
What the heck?
Portland's got Dame, CJ, Nurkic is back, Zach Collins, Carmelo Anthony, by the way, is still there.
Portland, of course,
He's already got a couple of get the fuck out of here rebounds.
First scrimmage, you already said it. Portland, of course, they're ready because they got the vets, right? So they're ready.
Yeah, that's just a team that I'm watching.
But you know, I love my young guys, Triple J and Ja. Those are my dudes. I want to see them get some experience and, see how it all plays out for them. Listen, it don't matter. They get smoked in round 1 anyway, but you got to go through that. That's how you get better.
I would have felt better about them, honestly, if Justice Winslow were a little bit healthy. Agree.
Actually, if they didn't make them trades, I would have felt better. If they kept Crowder and I'm serious. Because listen, what I love about those 2 young guys, they're not afraid of anybody in the league. Ja Morant literally is afraid of fucking nobody. He's like, I don't care. Steph Curry, I don't give a shit. It's your kind of guy, Bryan. He's like mother F anybody. He does not care. And I love that about him. And it's like,
definitely his guy.
But they need some veteran players on there because they're going to have them moments where
Jay Crowder's got a lot of playoff experience.
It's getting, a train's falling off the track. Who they going to look to be like, nah, we got this. Y'all ain't never been there. Right? At least Jay Crowder could be like, youngins, it's all right. Calm yourselves. We got it. Who's steadying them to be like, oh, we good. I guess Kyle Anderson.
My man, slow-mo.
If they had Andre Iguodala, if they had him playing, then that would have been obviously the ideal help. Him and Jay Crowder, and to your point, not make that trade. But they made the trade, and also they got to worry about New Orleans because New Orleans is right there, and Zion's back in the bubble, and he passed.
Yeah, Memphis has to get off to a good start, but it's going to be tough. I looked at their schedule. It's going to be if they play some tough teams in the
West going to be so much better.
Memphis had the hardest schedule second half of the season. I was like, oh man, I was like, come on, guys, come on, help the young fellas out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Slow and steady wins the race, boys. But shifting gears, because never in my journalism career did I ever think I would talk about a strip club. But here we are.
Brian's so excited.
So, to finish things out, we have to talk about the biggest headline of the week and the debates around Lou Williams and the decisions he has made and has not made. So let's talk about how the NBA is investigating Clippers guard Lou Williams and he had an excused absence from the bubble, okay? Then a picture pops up online. He's holding a drink but has a mask on at Magic City Gentlemen's Club in Atlanta. Now, I just learned this, but apparently they are well known for their food, especially their wings, which are named after Lou. So you see why he would drop by to say hello. But during the global pandemic, when you must return to the bubble for a serious matter, was it the best decision? Now, the debates online and within the media are basically one side that says, he went for an excused absence. He went to a funeral. So why are we talking about this? He stopped to get food. So what if it was a strip club, whatever? Second side is it was an irresponsible decision to even make the pit stop, seeing as, not to mention, number one, the Clippers are vying for a championship and have a very good chance. And number two, you're in a global pandemic going to a strip club, but he was wearing a mask. So I will give the floor to anyone who wants to start it, because what I will say is, first of all, RIP to whoever passed away in your family. Let's first of all acknowledge that. Yes. Second of all, The wings were named after him. How do you expect him not to stop by?
Yeah.
Understood on that. If the wings are named after you at a strip club establishment, then it would strike me that you've spent a considerable amount of money there in order to get the wings, your name on the menu. I would like to see my name on something on the menu.
Really quick, too,
yes.
Before you guys weigh in, Lou Williams did tweet when he found out this whole debacle was going on outside the bubble. He said, quote, "Ask any questions of my teammates what my favorite restaurant in Atlanta is. Ain't nobody partying. Chill out. LOL. Hashtag mask on. Hashtag in and out." Meaning he went in for a short period of time and out. So he must have called ahead. I'm not sure. As you were, Dexter.
Right.
Dexter,
Now,
Dex, I gotta correct you though, because you said a strip club. That is the strip club. First of all. That's an important distinction.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of famous ones down in Atlanta, but that is one of
that
is number one.
They had a
Magic
movie
City's
about
number
it.
one.
Right. Now look. Now here's the thing. If he stopped in to get some chicken wings, and he also happened to try to look at other parts that would be on the chicken, maybe some breasts and some thighs that he's trying to look at in the strip club, I understand that as well too. Here's the thing though. This is where I could argue for it being a little bit irresponsible. In one of the states where the numbers are going up, in the state of Georgia, do you really want to stop anywhere where there might be other people? No. Now, if he did this responsibly and had his mask on and went and got the wings in and out, which is what he said he did, then I understand that. But I also understand, I see Bryan with the wings. I also understand the concern because it's Georgia. Some people there aren't wearing masks, and we don't know how many people were in this establishment. Do I have a big problem with it? No. Do I understand the kind of concern that it could be about bringing stuff back into the bubble? Yes. We just talked about people bringing friends into the bubble, right? And so even with all that being said, I think that's the reason this comes up in a lot of people's heads. Is like, was he trying to go and see a little action? Not saying he did anything with those women, but was he trying to see a little bit of something of adult entertainment before he went back into the bubble? I understand the need for that very much so. I do. But I really think it's about where it happened to. I think Atlanta's a huge factor in this. I think the numbers going up there.
Right.
Like, look, here's what it comes down to for me. Lou Williams should have known that once, whatever that rapper's name is that took the picture and posted it, he's the real idiot here. Why'd you have to post the picture?
100%.
Nobody would have known.
Nobody would have known. He could have been getting his wings and whatever. And if I was Lou, I told him, man, you better delete that picture. What are you doing? Why are you taking this picture? Why did he post it? I think this says more about this age that we're in social media, that everybody has to post and show something that they're doing.
If it's not on the gram, it didn't happen.
Didn't happen, right? Yeah, that's a real problem here. Otherwise, Lou Will might have just picked up his wings, glanced at what else is going on in Magic City, as he should have, and then kept it moving, and nobody would know.
What's good, bro?
Lou Williams, who famously had two girlfriends at the same time, who were cool with it. Remember, they were both down with this. All right. So that's
Bryan's hero.
That's
Bryan's hero.
Another.
Could you imagine Bryan in a room with Lou Williams and Jimmy Butler?
Oh man, that's like the greatest.
Bryan, are you now trying to go to Magic City?
No, not now.
No.
Okay. Oh, okay.
He said not now.
Not now.
He said not
When
now.
I get vaccinated, maybe. Like we're all like, you know what I'm saying? 2021. You know, I want to go to Miami anywhere.
Why is it maybe?
Here's what I'll close this off and say.
Did you see the food?
The food looked good.
Did you see
Although I'm not really eating meat these days. Look, here's the reality. The fact that we are wilding out about the fact that he was at a gentleman's club, to me, just speaks to the ridiculous nature that we have in this country and all this puritanical bullshit and this constant like, oh my God, woe is me, this like, what about the children? Yo, like, stop all the bullshit. Why is America so prudish about shit? Like, still to this day, breasts are such a... Why? Like, yo, strip clubs are not illegal. Like, they're not. Like, who cares? He went to get some wings. He saw some girls. All right, cool. Like, why is this even a story? And I think, again, it ties into all the puritanical bullshit this country was built on. You remember at the U.S. Open last year, Bryan? I forget the female tennis player. She was Eastern European. The whole deal about how she got a code violation for changing her shirt at her chair. She wasn't naked. She had a sports bra underneath. Meanwhile, Nadal, Federer, all these fools
Yep.
take their shirts off
Yep.
with nothing underneath and are fully
Nobody
exposed.
says anything.
That ain't no problem. Why? Because they don't got boobs. Like
The same
know
way,
what?
the same way I've always questioned why it is that I can go to a beach and walk around topless, but if Jenna wanted to do the same, everybody would lose their damn mind. Why?
Big
Why are
fact.
you losing your mind?
Big fact.
Why can't Jenna get some sun on her chest? The same way I'm getting some sun on my chest. Just saying.
I mean, my personal case, I mean, our chests probably look very similar. I mean, it's no surprise here. So,
Oh,
I mean, what is the point?
Jenna,
You know
Jenna.
what I'm saying?
Give yourself some credit, Jenna.
Ain't no
But
shame in the small game. Ain't no shame.
I respect you for putting it out there. I'm just saying for all our ladies, whether big chested or lower chested, they should be allowed to be free in that way. And if you saw some breasts, are you going to lose your mind? Is the world going to stop? If kids see some breasts, the kids know it's there.
Right.
Like I ain't gonna what about the kids? The kids know the breasts are there. In fact, if you were breastfed by your mom, you always knew it was there. What are y'all talking about?
Like, it's
Sorry,
just
Jarod,
wild.
you took me on a sidebar, but it's just a point of ridiculousness that I thought Bryan would also appreciate because I just think this has been ridiculous for too long.
Ridiculous.
Why are we buying to this?
I think people are going crazy about it more so because, I mean, not more so. I think people are also going crazy about it because of the times we're in and this pandemic or whatever the case may be. But
Right.
I think if he just went into like a regular store, nobody would be flipping out, to your point, because it's sort of the same thing. Like people act like people. Let me make sure my volume is all right. People, you know what I'm saying? Like they act like there aren't kids out here discovering porn at like 12 years old. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about.
Bryan just told on himself, folks. Bryan just told on himself.
People are getting started very earlier nowadays because of Instagram. You know what's on Instagram?
Right.
Right.
Like
These kids have cell phones at like age 10. It's out of control.
It's just
Right.
Come on, like go look at anyone's explore page.
all the moral hand wringing and like the 85 topics on these idiotic shows. I'm like, yo, man, really? Like, listen, again, to your point, idiot rapper, why you gotta post everything? Damn it!
Yes.
Leave it alone.
Yes.
Leave it
That's the
alone.
main thing.
How is he not getting the heat here? That's the thing that's depressing.
You know why? Because we don't know who he is. He's literally like we don't know who.
I never heard of him.
I never
until
heard
this,
of him
so-
Like if it was Rick Ross,
Right? Yeah.
then
Yeah, but
then
it's Atlanta. Everybody's a rapper in Atlanta.
and everybody's in the strip club too. Well, anyway, that might be a plus term, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah.
And
Hey.
what a way to wrap the show, huh, Jenna?
Literally, this, guys, seriously, you guys have been on our show before, Dexter and Bryan, Ain't Hard to Tell podcast, but this by far was my most favorite episode. We covered so many topics. It was so fun, and I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. We love to have you guys always, and we just appreciate
I'm only disappointed in one thing, and what would have made this podcast better was if I was doing it while eating some lemon pepper wings. That would have took it over the top. Then that would have been a lot better.
Can you
is lemon
imagine?
pepper? is lemon pepper really that good?
Yes.
I've never had lemon pepper.
I don't. You know me. I'm not really eating meat these days, so it's not really my jam. But people like it though. They fool with it. They fool with it
Have you
heavy.
eaten meat during quarantine at all? Have you eaten meat during quarantine at all?
Nah.
Really?
Nope.
Really?
Homie, I'm
You
good.
ever had any chicken? Nothing.
Nope.
It's just been
Jarod,
black
we got to talk. We got to talk about the dietary changes. You look like you lost a little bit of weight too, so we got to talk about that.
Your man's out here healthy in these streets. You know, I'm trying to live.
Same here.
Same
here. Looking good, feeling good.
That reminded me of you know when Punch
Big
starts
Punch
that
song.
song, right? Where he's like, oh, it's 400 pounds. I'm trying to live.
You guys are
Bryan,
wild.
How could I forget? It was in It's So Hard. That's one of my favorite songs.
That's the jam. But folks, thank you as always for tuning in. You know where to find us: 7 Footers Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. You know the drill. Thanks to our friends from Ain't Hard to Tell, Dexter and Bryan. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gonna do? Chevy told me.